Admiral Hyunwoo Kim stood in the center of the massive council chamber aboard Nexus Prime. The space station was enormous, bigger than Earth's moon, and it spun slowly in orbit around Zentara, the capital world of the Galactic Confederation. Crystal walls stretched up into shadows, and floating platforms held representatives from 12 different alien species. At the highest platform sat Supreme Chancellor Vextar, a tall creature with silver skin and 4 arms. His yellow eyes looked down at Kim with obvious boredom. Kim held a datapad in his hands. His uniform was simple compared to the flowing robes and energy shields worn by the other species. Humans had only joined the Confederation 20 years ago, and they were still treated like children who had just learned to walk. "Honored Council," Kim began, his voice steady despite the weight of what he was about to say. "I bring urgent intelligence from the Outer Rim territories. Our deep space reconnaissance missions have discovered a threat unlike anything the galaxy has seen before." A ripple of quiet laughter came from the floating platforms. The crystalline axioms made a sound like wind chimes in a breeze. The gaseous nethers shifted their cloudy forms in what Kim had learned was amusement. Even the machine hybrid synthetics clicked their metal fingers in dismissal. Chancellor Vextar raised one of his 4 hands. "Admiral Kim, please. We appreciate Earth's enthusiasm in contributing to galactic security. But surely you do not expect this ancient council to panic over shadows and rumors?" Kim's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice calm. "With respect, Chancellor, these are not rumors. Captain Dong-hyun Lee's ship, the Soul's Pride, has spent 6 months investigating the disappearance of 17 star systems in the Outer Rim. What we found was not natural disaster or civil war. It was something else entirely." He activated his datapad, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. The image showed a star system that looked like it had been drained of life. Planets hung in space like empty shells. The star itself flickered weakly, as if something had been feeding on its energy. "This was the Kalar system," Kim continued, "home to 3 billion Confederation citizens. Captain Lee's team arrived to find this. No debris, no survivors, just empty worlds and a dying star. We detected traces of an unknown biological signature throughout the system." The axiomatic representative, a being made of living crystal that sparkled with inner light, spoke with a voice like singing glass. "Admiral, the Kalar system was always unstable. Their star was old. This appears to be a natural stellar collapse." Kim shook his head. "Dr. So-Young Park, our xenobiologist, analyzed the biological traces we collected. This was not a natural event. Something consumed the life energy of entire worlds, something that left behind organic compounds we have never seen before." Another holographic image appeared. This one showed microscopic organisms that seemed to shift and change even as they watched. They were dark, almost black, but they pulsed, with veins of sickly green light. "We call them the Void Swarm," Kim said. "Based on Dr. Park's analysis, these organisms can consume any form of biological matter and convert it into more of themselves. They do not just kill. They absorb. They learn. They adapt." The synthetic representative spoke with a voice like static electricity. "Impossible. Our biodefense systems would detect and eliminate such organisms long before they could pose a threat to developed worlds." Kim looked directly at the metal being. "That is what the Kalar thought as well. Their planetary shields were some of the strongest in this sector. It did not matter. Captain Lee's long-range sensors detected the swarm moving from system to system. Each time they consume a world, they grow stronger and faster. They are not just a threat to one species or one world. They are a threat to all life in the galaxy." Chancellor Vextar leaned forward on his platform. His 4 arms moved in what Kim recognized as a gesture of dismissive authority. "Admiral Kim, please. The Confederation has existed for over 3,000 years. We have faced pirates, civil wars, and natural disasters. We have survived them all because we do not panic at every strange reading from the outer darkness." "This is not panic," Kim replied firmly. "This is preparation. The swarm is moving inward from the galactic rim. Based on their current speed and consumption rate, they will reach Confederation space within 2 years. We need to begin defensive preparations now." the chamber filled with more alien sounds of amusement. The nethers, floating clouds of gas and energy, swirled in patterns that Kim knew meant they thought he was being foolish. The other species made their own sounds of dismissal. One of the newer council members, a reptilian creature from the Saurian Republic, spoke with a hissing voice. The humans have been members of this confederation for barely 2 decades. They have no understanding of galactic history or the true scope of our defensive capabilities. Chancellor Vextar nodded. Indeed. Admiral Kim, while we appreciate Earth's desire to contribute to galactic security, perhaps it would be better if humanity focused on learning from the more experienced members of this council, rather than attempting to teach us about threats we should fear. Kim felt anger building in his chest, but he kept his expression neutral. Chancellor, I am not here to teach anyone. I am here to share critical intelligence that could save billions of lives. Dr. Parks, analysis shows that the Void Swarm adapts to whatever attacks it faces. Traditional energy weapons become less effective with each encounter. Biological weapons are useless because the swarm absorbs and incorporates any organic material it encounters. He activated another display. This one showed tactical projections and defensive strategies. However, our research suggests that the swarm has weaknesses. They require a certain type of stellar radiation to maintain their cohesion across long distances. They struggle with quantum-based disruption fields. If we work together, we can develop countermeasures. The axiomatic representative sparkled more brightly. Admiral, your species has been in space for less than 2 centuries. The idea that you could develop strategies that we have not already considered is amusing. The galaxy's newest children, Chancellor Vexitar added with what might have been a smile on his alien features. Still seeing monsters in every shadow. Still thinking that their primitive perspectives can illuminate dangers that have escaped the notice of civilizations millions of years older. Kim looked around the chamber. He saw dismissal in every alien face. These beings had ruled the galaxy for millennia. They had technology that seemed like magic to most humans. They lived in cities that floated in space and ships that could cross the galaxy in days. The idea that a threat could exist that they could not handle was impossible for them to accept. I understand your confidence, Kim said carefully, but I have seen the data. I have spoken with the survivors Captain Lee rescued from the edge of swarm territory. This threat is real, and it is coming. The chamber fell silent for a moment. Then Chancellor Vextar stood on his platform, all 4 arms spread wide. The Council has heard Admiral Kim's concerns, he announced formally. We acknowledge Earth's desire to contribute to galactic defense. However, this Council finds no credible evidence of the threat described. The disappearance of outer rim systems, while regrettable, appears to be the result of natural stellar phenomena and local conflicts. Kim opened his mouth to protest, but the Chancellor continued. Furthermore, this Council is concerned about the spread of unnecessary panic among Confederation citizens. We therefore formally censure Admiral Kim for presenting unsubstantiated claims as fact, and for attempting to undermine confidence in Confederation defensive capabilities. The words hit Kim like a physical blow. A formal censure was serious business. It could end his career and Earth standing in the Confederation. The Chancellor was not finished. If Earth continues to spread these unfounded warnings, we will be forced to review humanity's membership status in this Confederation. Perhaps a period of reduced participation would help Earth's representatives gain a better perspective on their proper role in galactic affairs. Kim looked around the chamber one more time. He saw smug satisfaction on alien faces. These beings truly believed they were untouchable. They had convinced themselves that 3,000 years of dominance made them invincible. I understand the Council's position, Kim said quietly. But I hope you will at least review Dr. Park's scientific analysis. The data speaks for itself. The synthetic representative made a sound like electronic laughter. Admiral, we do not need to review primitive human science to understand threats to the galaxy. Our predictive systems would have detected any genuine danger long before your reconnaissance mission stumbled across it. Kim nodded slowly. There was no point in continuing. He had done what he came to do, he had warned them. What they did with that warning was their choice. Then I ask permission to return to Earth, he said formally. Granted, Chancellor Vextar replied. Perhaps time among your own kind will help you understand the proper relationship between junior members and senior leadership in this confederation. Kim saluted in the human fashion, a gesture that looked odd compared to the flowing movements of the other species. Then he turned and walked toward the exit. His footsteps echoed in the vast chamber as he left behind the floating platforms and crystal walls. Dr. So-Young Park was waiting for him in there. 6 months had passed since Admiral Hyun-Woo Kim returned from his humiliating appearance before the Galactic Council. Earth looked the same from orbit, blue and green and wrapped in white clouds, but everything had changed beneath the surface. General Taemin Choi stood in the war room deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching displays that showed activities across the entire solar system. The room hummed with quiet energy as dozens of officers worked at their stations. Outside the mountain, the world continued its normal routine. Inside, humanity prepared for war. Status report, General Choi said to the room. Major Subin Han stepped forward. She wore the black uniform of Earth's new Void Hunter Corps, and her face was serious. Training is progressing ahead of schedule, General. We now have 300 fully trained Void Hunters with another 1,000 in advanced preparation. Combat effectiveness tests show they can engage swarm bioforms with 70% survival rates. General Choi nodded. 70% was not great odds, but it was better than the 0% survival rate every other species had achieved against the Void Swarm. Dr. Yoon, how are our defensive preparations? Dr. Ji Hee-yoon looked up from her engineering station. She was the director of the Sol System Defense Initiative, and she had not slept more than 4 hours a night since taking the job. The outer ring platforms are 80% complete. We have disguised them as asteroid mining operations and deep space research stations. Even if the Confederation sends inspection teams, they will see exactly what we want them to see. She activated a holographic display that showed the solar system. Red dots marked defensive positions scattered throughout the asteroid belt, hidden among the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, and positioned at key points along the most likely approach routes. Each platform is equipped with quantum disruptor arrays. Based on Dr. Park's analysis of swarm weaknesses, Dr. Yoon continued. Traditional energy weapons become less effective as the swarm adapts, but quantum disruption attacks their basic molecular structure in ways they cannot easily counter. General Choi studied the display. Will it be enough? Dr. Yoon hesitated. Against a normal enemy, yes. Against the Void Swarm, we are going to find out. Across the room, Professor Woo Jin Nam was working at a weapons development station. The scientist looked exhausted but excited as he presented his latest results. General, we have made breakthrough progress on dimensional mining technology. The new mines can create localized space-time distortions that will disrupt swarm cohesion across multiple light years. If we can deploy them correctly, we can break up their formations before they reach our defensive perimeter. How many can we produce? General Choi asked. We have factories on Luna, Mars, and Europa working around the clock. Current production rate is 50 mines per week, but we are increasing that to 100 by next month. General Choi moved to another station where intelligence reports were being analyzed. Captain Dong Hyun Lee was there, just returned from another reconnaissance mission to the Outer Rim. His ship, Soul's Pride, was one of the few vessels fast enough and stealthy enough to observe the Void Swarm without being detected. What did you find, Captain? General Choi asked. Lee's expression was grim. It is worse than we thought, General. The swarm has consumed 23 systems in the past 6 months. But that is not the worst part. They are learning. He activated his own display, showing tactical recordings from his latest mission. The images were horrifying. Planets reduced to gray sludge, stars flickering as their energy was drained. And everywhere the dark masses of swarm bioships moving like schools of deadly fish. The first systems they hit, it took them weeks to fully consume. Lee continued. Now they can strip a world bare in days. They are not just growing larger, they are growing smarter and more efficient. Speed of advance, General Choi asked. Faster than our original projections. At their current rate, they will reach Confederation space in 14 months instead of 18. And General... Lee paused. They are not moving randomly. They are following the galactic trade routes, hitting the most populated systems first. They know exactly where to find the largest concentrations of life. General Choi felt a chill. An enemy that could learn and adapt was bad enough. An enemy that could plan and strategize was terrifying. Has the Confederation noticed the pattern yet? Lee shook his head. The outer rim systems that have gone silent are mostly independent. Colonies and small settlements. The core worlds barely pay attention to them. The Confederation Council still thinks this is just another outbreak of piracy or local conflicts. Across the room, Admiral Kim was studying reports from Earth's intelligence network. The news was not encouraging. "General," Kim called out, "we have a problem. I just received word that the Confederation Council has officially classified all human warnings about the Void Swarm as unfounded panic-mongering. Any Earth representative who continues to discuss the threat will face immediate expulsion from Confederation space." General Choi walked over to Kim's station. "They are that determined to ignore reality?" "Worse," Kim replied. "They have assigned a monitoring team to watch Earth's activities. If they detect any unusual military preparations, they plan to investigate. They think we might be building weapons to use against other Confederation members. So they will not help us prepare, but they will try to stop us from preparing ourselves," General Choi said. "Perfect." Dr. So-Young Park entered the war room carrying a data pad. The xenobiologist looked tired but determined. She had spent the past 6 months analyzing every piece of Void Swarm material that Captain Lee's missions could collect. "General, I have completed the biological warfare analysis you requested," she reported. "The results are mixed." She activated a display showing detailed biological breakdowns of swarm organisms. "The good news is that the swarm does have weaknesses. They require specific types of stellar radiation to maintain their molecular cohesion across interstellar distances. Disrupt that radiation, and their formations will fragment." "And the bad news?" General Choi asked. "The bad news is that they adapt incredibly quickly to any attack that does not completely destroy them. Energy weapons become less effective after the first few uses. Biological weapons are useless because they simply absorb and incorporate any organic material. Even nuclear weapons only slow them down." Dr. Park moved to another section of the display. "However, I have identified 3 potential vulnerabilities. First, quantum disruption at the subatomic level appears to cause permanent damage they cannot adapt to. Second, they have difficulty processing certain rare elements that disrupt their cellular structure. Third, and most importantly, they appear to require a centralized command structure to coordinate their adaptive responses." "Meaning what exactly?" General Choi asked. "Meaning that if we can identify and destroy their command organisms, the rest of the swarm becomes much less coordinated and adaptive. They revert to simple predatory behavior instead of intelligent tactical responses." General Choi studied the biological data. It was complex and technical, but the implications were clear. Humanity had found ways to fight the Void Swarm, but it would require weapons and tactics that no other species had developed. "How long to incorporate these findings into our defensive systems?" Professor Nam looked up from his workstation. "We can retrofit the existing platforms with quantum disruptors within 3 months. The rare element ammunition will take longer to produce in sufficient quantities, but General, we have another problem." "What now?" "Resources. To build everything we need, we are going to have to strip mine half the asteroid belt and convert most of our orbital manufacturing to military production. The civilian economy cannot support this level of preparation without obvious changes that the Confederation will notice." General Choi nodded. This was the problem they had been dreading. Earth could prepare for the Void Swarm, but not without making it obvious to everyone watching that they were building for war. "Recommendations?" Dr. Yoon stepped forward. "We continue the deception. Asteroid mining for civilian industrial expansion. Orbital construction for trade infrastructure development. Deep space installations for scientific research. As long as we keep the real weapon systems hidden until the last possible moment, we should be able to maintain the illusion." "And if the Confederation discovers what we are really doing?" Admiral Kim answered that question. "Then they will probably try to stop us. They might even use military force to prevent Earth from destabilizing galactic peace with unauthorized weapons development. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the implications. Earth was caught between two threats: the Void Swarm approaching from outside the galaxy, and the Galactic Confederation that might turn against them if they discovered humanity's preparations. "General," Major Hans said quietly, "there is something else. My intelligence contacts have reported unusual activities in several Confederation core systems. Fleet movements, communication blackouts, emergency governmental sessions. I think some of the more advanced species are starting to notice that something is wrong in the Outer Rim." General Choi considered this. "Are they investigating the disappearances?" "Unknown. But if they send investigation fleets to the Outer Rim, they are going to encounter the Void Swarm directly. That could change everything." The first attack came without warning. Commander Insu Bay was drinking coffee in the command center of Aegis 7, Earth's outermost defense platform, when the long-range sensors exploded with activity. The platform was disguised as an asteroid mining station in the outer edge of the solar system, but underneath its industrial exterior lay some of the most advanced weapons humanity had ever built. "Commander," called sensor operator Minho Park, "I am reading massive energy signatures at the edge of sensor range, multiple contacts, moving at high speed toward the inner system." Bay set down his coffee and moved to the tactical display. What he saw there made his blood freeze. Dozens of dark shapes were emerging from faster-than-light travel, each one the size of a small moon. The Void Swarm had arrived, and they were 18 months ahead of schedule. "Sound general alarm," Bay ordered. "All hands to battle stations. Send priority alert to Earth Defense Command. The swarm is here." Across the solar system, other defense platforms were detecting the same thing. Hidden installations in the asteroid belt, camouflaged weapon stations near Jupiter and Saturn, and the secret orbital facilities around Mars all came alive with activity as humanity prepared for the fight they had spent 2 years planning. On Earth, General Tae-min Choi was in the underground command center when the alerts started flooding in. The main display showed the solar system with red markers indicating swarm positions. There were more of them than expected, and they were moving faster than projected. "Fleet Admiral J. Wan Ryu," Choi called across the command center. "Launch all available combat units. Execute Operation Shield Wall." Admiral Ryu nodded grimly. "All ships, this is Fleet Command. Launch immediately. Execute pre-planned defensive positions. Remember your training and trust your weapons. For Earth." Throughout the solar system, hidden bays opened and Earth's secret fleet emerged from concealment. 300 ships that had been built in absolute secrecy over the past 2 years, each one designed specifically to fight the Void Swarm. They were not pretty or elegant like Confederation vessels. They were built for one purpose: to kill something that had never been killed before. Meanwhile, in the crystal halls of Nexus Prime, emergency alarms were sounding for the first time in centuries. Supreme Chancellor Vextar stood before the Galactic Council, his forearms moving in agitated patterns as reports flooded in from across Confederation space. "The axiomatic core worlds report that their outer colonies have gone silent," announced the crystalline representative, their voice ringing like broken glass. 3 systems. No response to communication attempts. The gaseous nether delegates swirled in distressed patterns. "Our atmospheric processing stations in the Helix sector have ceased operations. Energy readings suggest complete biological consumption." Chancellor Vextar felt something he had not experienced in his 3-century political career: genuine fear. The reports were coming in too fast, from too many places. This was not piracy or civil unrest. This was something else entirely. "Communications officer," he ordered. "Establish contact with Earth immediately." The officer tried several times before responding. "Chancellor, Earth is not responding to standard diplomatic channels. All we are getting is automated messages saying their representatives are unavailable due to security operations." "Security operations?" Chancellor Vextar repeated. A horrible thought was beginning to form in his mind. "Get me Admiral Kim. Now, Minutes passed before Admiral Hyunwoo Kim's face appeared on the main screen. He was wearing battle armor instead of his diplomatic uniform, and the background behind him looked like a military command center. "Chancellor Vextar," Kim said politely, "how can Earth assist the Confederation today?" "Admiral, we are receiving reports of attacks throughout Confederation space. Unknown hostile forces are destroying our outer colonies. We require immediate military assistance from all member worlds, including Earth." Kim appeared to consider this request carefully. "I see. And what exactly would you like Earth to contribute to this military effort?" "Everything you have, Chancellor," Vextar snapped, his diplomatic composure finally cracking. "Ships, troops, weapons, whatever it takes to stop these attacks." Kim shook his head slowly. "I am afraid that will not be possible, Chancellor. Earth's military forces are currently engaged in protecting human interests. We cannot spare resources for other operations at this time." "Human interests?" The Chancellor's voice rose to an angry screech. "Admiral, this threat affects the entire galaxy. Surely Earth understands that we must work together. The Confederation Council had an opportunity to work together 2 years ago," Kim replied calmly. "At that time, you chose to ignore warnings about this exact threat. You censured me for trying to prepare the galaxy for what is happening right now. You dismissed human intelligence and threatened to expel us from the Confederation if we continued to warn you." Chancellor Vextar felt his foreheart sinking as he realized what Kim was saying. You knew this was coming?" "We tried to warn you," Kim said. Dr. So Young Park presented detailed analysis of the threat. Captain Dong Hyun Lee provided reconnaissance data from the Outer Rim. "You called it primitive human science and told us to leave galactic defense to our betters." The communication channel crackled with static as more reports flooded into the Confederation Command Center. The attacks were spreading faster than anyone had imagined possible. "Admiral," Chancellor Vextar said, and for the first time in his life, he was begging, "whatever mistakes were made before, surely we can put them aside now. The galaxy needs Earth's help." Kim's expression did not change. "I am sorry, Chancellor, but Earth is currently dealing with our own security crisis. The same hostile forces that are attacking Confederation worlds appear to be heading toward the Sol system. All of our resources must be devoted to defending human space." The communication ended, leaving Chancellor Vextar staring at a blank screen. Around him, the Galactic Council was in chaos as more reports of destruction came in every minute. In the Sol system, the battle was just beginning. Commander Bay watched through Aegis 7's sensors as the Void Swarm approached the outer defense perimeter. The bioships were enormous, dark masses that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved in perfect formation, like a school of predatory fish swimming through space. "Commander," reported Weapons Officer Yunseo Kim, "we have target. Locks on the lead elements. Quantum disruptors are charged and ready." Bay took a deep breath. 2 years of preparation had led to this moment. "All outer platforms, this is Aegis 7. Execute firing plan Alpha for Earth." The first volley of quantum disruptors lanced out from hidden positions throughout the solar system's edge. The weapons were invisible to normal sensors, but their effects on the Void Swarm bioships were immediate and devastating. Where the quantum beams struck, sections of the dark vessels simply ceased to exist, leaving gaping holes that bled atmosphere and strange fluids into space. "Direct hits," Yunseo Kim reported excitedly. "The disruptors are working exactly as Dr. Park predicted." But Bay's excitement was short-lived. Even as the first wave of swarm ships took damage, the others were already adapting. Their formation shifted, their approach vectors changed, and some kind of energy field began to form around the remaining vessels. "Sir," called Sensor Operator Park, "the swarm ships are modifying their defensive posture. They are adapting to our quantum frequencies." This was exactly what Dr. Park had warned them about. The Void Swarm's ability to adapt to new threats was their most dangerous characteristic. But humanity had prepared for this too. "Weapons Officer, switch to disruption pattern Beta. Rotate quantum frequencies on a random cycle." "Pattern Beta activated, sir. Frequency rotation engaged." The second volley was even more effective than the first. The swarm ships, having adapted, to the initial attack pattern, were caught completely off guard by the frequency changes. Several bioships broke apart entirely, their dark masses dispersing into clouds of organic debris. But there were so many of them. For every ship that was destroyed, two more seemed to take its place, and they were learning from each attack, becoming more resistant to human weapons with each passing minute. Lieutenant Mi-young Shin led her Void Hunter squad through the corridors of Firebase Delta, one of the hidden military installations in the asteroid belt. The base was under attack by swarm-boarding organisms, small bioforms that had managed to breach the outer hull. Squad 2, cover the left corridor, she ordered through her comm system. Squad 3, set up defensive positions near the reactor core. Do not let them reach the main systems. The Void Hunter armor was a marvel of human engineering, designed specifically for close combat with swarm organisms. It provided protection against the bioform's acidic secretions and energy-draining attacks, while the built-in weapon systems could deliver precisely calibrated quantum bursts that disrupted swarm cellular structure. Shin rounded a corner and came face-to-face with a swarm bioform. The creature was roughly humanoid but covered in dark, shifting tissue that seemed to move independently of the main body. Green veins of energy pulsed through its form, and its eyes were pools of sickly light. She raised her quantum rifle and fired. The beam struck the creature's center mass, and it collapsed instantly as its cellular structure came apart. But even as it died, the Battle of Seoul was entering its third day, and humanity was running out of everything except determination. Fleet Admiral Jae-won Ryu stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical display that showed the largest space battle in galactic history. Red dots marked void swarm bioships. Blue dots showed human vessels, and the space between them was filled with weapons fire, debris, and the expanding clouds of destroyed ships from both sides. "Admiral," reported his tactical officer, "ammunition. Reserves are down to 30% across the fleet. Exotic matter rounds are at 15%. If this continues much longer, we will be reduced to conventional weapons." Ryu nodded grimly. Conventional weapons were almost useless against the void swarm. The bioships adapted too quickly for traditional energy beams or projectile weapons to remain effective for more than a few minutes. "What about the dimensional mines?" he asked. "Dr. Sang-Woo Lee reports that mine production is at maximum capacity, but deployment is limited by the number of vessels that can safely handle the dimensional distortion fields. We are getting about 20 mines deployed per hour. 20 mines per hour against an enemy fleet that numbered in the thousands. The mathematics were not encouraging." On the hidden observation deck of Aegis 7, Commander In-soo Bae watched the battle through advanced sensors while maintaining communication with defense platforms throughout the outer system. His station had been fighting continuously for 3 days, and the stress was showing on his crew. "Commander," called sensor operator Min-ho Park, "I am detecting something new in the swarm formation. The larger bioships are changing." Bae moved to the sensor station and studied the readings. Park was right. The massive command bioships at the center of the swarm fleet were undergoing some kind of transformation. Their dark hulls were expanding, growing new appendages and energy projection systems. "Get me Dr. Park at Earth Defense Command," Bae ordered. Dr. So-young Park appeared on the communication screen. She looked exhausted but alert as she studied the sensor data Bae was transmitting. "This is not good," she said after a moment. "The command bioships are adapting to our tactics by creating specialized attack forms. Those new appendages are designed to project some kind of focused energy beam that will be much more effective against our defensive platforms." "How long until they complete the transformation?" Bae asked. Dr. Park ran calculations on her data pad. "Based on the growth rate, approximately 6 hours. Once they finish adapting, they will be able to destroy our outer defenses with concentrated bombardment from beyond the range of our quantum disruptors." Bae felt his stomach drop. The outer defense ring was humanity's first line of protection. If it fell, the swarm would have a clear path to Earth. In the asteroid belt, Lieutenant Mi-young Shin was leading her Void Hunters in a desperate assault on a swarm bioship that had managed to attach itself to Firebase Delta. The bioship was slowly dissolving the station's hull with acidic secretions while injecting boarding organisms directly into the human facility. "Sergeant Park, take your team through Section B," Shin ordered over her comm system. "We need to reach the bioship's attachment point and sever the connection before it compromises the main reactor." Sergeant Hayrin Park led her demolitions team through corridors that were rapidly becoming alien environments. The swarm bioforms were not just trying to destroy the station, they were trying to convert it into part of their own organic matrix. Walls were developing strange growths, and the air filtration systems were being replaced by breathing membranes. Lieutenant Park reported, "These things are not just consuming the station, they are transforming it. If this process continues, Firebase Delta will become a swarm facility." This was worse than anyone had imagined. The Void Swarm was not just a destructive force, it was a converting force that could turn human technology and infrastructure into weapons against humanity. "Set the charges," Shin ordered. "If we cannot save the station, we make sure the swarm cannot use it." On Earth, General Tae-min Choi was coordinating the most complex military operation in human history, while simultaneously dealing with urgent communications from the Galactic Confederation. The main display showed the solar system battle, but smaller screens showed the desperate situation throughout Confederation space. "General," reported his intelligence officer, "we are receiving emergency communications from 17 Confederation worlds requesting immediate military assistance. The Void Swarm has destroyed their primary defense fleets and is beginning planetary consumption operations." General Choi studied the requests. Each one represented billions of lives in immediate danger. But Earth's forces were already stretched to the breaking point defending the Sol system. "Admiral Kim," he called across the command center, "what is the status of Confederation military response?" Admiral Hyunwoo Kim looked up from his diplomatic station. "According to their reports, the Confederation has lost 60% of their total fleet strength in 3 days. Their remaining forces are retreating to core system defense positions, but those defenses were not designed for this type of enemy." "Are they still requesting our assistance?" "Every few minutes, Chancellor Vextar is offering full Confederation membership, advanced technology shares, territorial concessions, and trade agreements in exchange for immediate military support." General Choi nodded. "And our response?" "I keep telling them we are busy defending Earth and will consider their requests once our own security is assured." "Good. Let them understand what it feels like to beg for help and be ignored." But even as he said it, General Choi felt the weight of the billions of lives that hung in the balance. The Galactic Confederation had dismissed human warnings and threatened human participation in galactic affairs. But the people dying on those worlds had not made those decisions. Captain Yeonju Kim was pushing the Indomitable to its limits as her task force engaged the main swarm fleet near Jupiter. The battle had been raging for hours, and both sides had taken heavy casualties. But something was becoming clear. Human weapons and tactics were not just effective against the Void Swarm, they were superior to anything else the galaxy had developed. "Captain," reported her tactical officer, "enemy formation is showing signs of significant disruption. The destruction of command bioships is having cascading effects on swarm coordination." Kim studied the tactical display. It was true. The Void Swarm, which had moved in perfect coordination at the start of the battle, was now showing gaps in their formation. Individual bioships were making tactical errors, and their adaptive responses were becoming less sophisticated. "Concentrate all. Fire on the remaining command vessels," she ordered. Dr. Park was right. Take out their central intelligence and the rest becomes manageable. The strategy was working, but at terrible cost. Human ships were being destroyed faster than they could be replaced, and ammunition stocks were running critically low. The question was whether they could eliminate enough swarm command structures before their own forces were exhausted. Dr. Sang-Woo Lee was working frantically in his laboratory beneath the surface of Luna, trying to solve the ammunition shortage that threatened to doom Earth's defensive efforts. His team had been working without sleep for 3 days, pushing dimensional mining technology to its absolute limits. "Professor Nam," he called to his colleague, "what is the status on rare element extraction?" Professor Woojin Nam looked up from a complex array of quantum processors. We have increased production by 400%, but we are still limited by the fundamental availability of the exotic materials. There simply are not enough naturally occurring rare elements in this solar system to sustain current ammunition. Consumption rates. Dr. Lee stared at the production figures. At current consumption rates, Earth's exotic matter ammunition would be exhausted within 18 hours. After that, they would be limited to quantum disruptors, which became less effective as the swarm adapted to them. What about artificial synthesis, he asked. Theoretically possible, but the energy requirements would be enormous. We would need to tap directly into the sun's output to generate sufficient exotic matter for our ammunition needs. Dr. Lee paused. Could we do it? Professor Nam blinked. You mean actually build a device that extracts energy directly from the sun and converts it to exotic matter? The engineering challenge is alone. Could we do it? Dr. Lee repeated. Professor Nam thought for a long moment. Maybe, but it would require dismantling most of our existing production facilities and redirecting all available resources to a single massive project. If it failed, we would have no backup systems. Dr. Lee activated his communication link to Earth Defense Command. General Choi, I need to speak with you immediately. Vice Admiral Bo Young CO was commanding the Luna Defense Grid when the call came through. The moon's hidden weapon batteries had been firing continuously for 3 days, and several systems were beginning to show signs of stress failure. Admiral, reported her weapons officer. Quantum Disruptor Array 7 is showing power fluctuations. Array 12 has a coolant leak in the primary systems. We are operating at 75% capacity and falling. SEO studied the tactical situation. The swarm was pressing closer to the inner solar system with each hour. If the Luna defense grid failed, there would be nothing between the enemy and Earth except. The command bioship died in a burst of exotic radiation that lit up half the solar system. Captain Yeonju Kim watched from the bridge of the Indomitable as the massive swarm vessel, larger than Earth's moon, came apart in a cascade of dimensional failures. The destruction of the central command organism sent shockwaves through the entire Void Swarm fleet, and suddenly the perfectly coordinated enemy formations began to fragment into chaos. All ships, pursue and destroy, Kim ordered. Do not let them regroup. Across the Sol system, human forces pressed their advantage as the Void Swarm's adaptive intelligence network collapsed. Without their central coordination, the bioships reverted to simple predatory behavior. They were still dangerous, but they were no longer the unstoppable force that had consumed dozens of star systems. The battle raged for 6 more hours, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. One by one, the remaining swarm vessels were hunted down and destroyed by human forces that had been specifically trained and equipped for this exact fight. When the last bioship was eliminated, an eerie silence fell over the solar system. For the first time in 4 days, no weapons were firing. No ships were exploding. No alien creatures were trying to consume human worlds. Earth had won. General Tai-Min Choi stood in the underground command center, staring at tactical displays that showed the aftermath of the greatest military victory in human history. The cost had been enormous. Nearly 40% of Earth's military forces had been destroyed or damaged. Thousands of trained soldiers and spacers were dead. Entire defensive installations had been sacrificed to stop the swarm advance, but they had won. Against an enemy that had never been defeated, using weapons and tactics that no other species had imagined, humanity had achieved the impossible. General, called Admiral Hyun-Woo Kim from across the command center, we are receiving urgent communications from the Galactic Confederation. Chancellor Vextar is requesting immediate consultation. General Choi nodded. Put him through. Chancellor Vextar appeared on the main screen, and his appearance was shocking. The proud, arrogant leader who had dismissed human warnings 2 years earlier now looked broken and desperate. His silver skin was pale, his forearms trembled, and his yellow eyes were wide with something that might have been panic. General Choi, Vextar began, we have monitored the Battle of Sol through long-range sensors. The reports are difficult to believe. Did Earth truly defeat the entire Void Swarm fleet? We did, General Choi replied simply. How? Vextar asked. How did you accomplish something that our greatest military minds declared impossible? General Choi looked around the command center at the exhausted officers who had planned and executed humanity's victory. We listened to our own intelligence instead of dismissing it. We prepared for the threat instead of ignoring it. We developed weapons specifically designed to fight this enemy instead of assuming our existing technology would be sufficient. But your species is barely 2 centuries old in space, Vextar protested. Your technology is primitive compared to ours. How could you succeed where we failed? Admiral Kim stepped forward. Chancellor, you are still thinking like the Confederation Council that refused to take human warnings seriously. You assume that advanced technology automatically means superior results. But technology without wisdom is useless. Strategy without understanding is meaningless. Kim activated a display showing the tactical analysis of the battle. The Void Swarm was defeated because we studied them. Dr. So-Young Park spent 2 years analyzing their biology, their behavior patterns, their adaptive mechanisms, and their weaknesses. We built our entire defensive strategy around exploiting those weaknesses, while you, General Choi added, spent those same 2 years debating trade agreements and ignoring intelligence reports that could have saved billions of lives. Chancellor, Vextar was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was barely above a whisper. General, the Confederation core worlds are still under attack. The swarm forces that bypassed your system are consuming our most populated planets. We need your help. General Choi exchanged glances with Admiral Kim. This was the moment they had been preparing for, the ultimate reversal of galactic power structures. What exactly are you requesting, Chancellor? General Choi asked. Military assistance, your weapons, your tactics, your knowledge of how to fight these creatures. In exchange, the Confederation offers full membership status. For Earth, technology sharing agreements, territorial concessions, and trade privileges. Admiral Kim stepped forward. I am afraid those terms are no longer sufficient, Chancellor. Vextar blinked in confusion. What do you mean? I mean the situation has changed dramatically since you first ignored our warnings, Kim replied. At that time, Earth was a junior member seeking cooperation with established galactic powers. Now Earth is the only military force that has successfully defeated the galaxy's greatest threat. Kim activated another display showing the current military situation throughout Confederation space. The images were devastating. System after system showed the signs of swarm consumption, dead worlds, dying stars, and the gray organic sludge. That was all that remained of once great civilizations. The Confederation has lost approximately 60% of its total military capability, Kim continued. Your industrial capacity has been reduced by 40%. Your population has declined by an estimated 2 billion individuals. The governmental structure that has ruled the galaxy for 3 millennia is in complete collapse. What are you saying? Vextar asked, though his expression suggested he already knew. President Hye-Jin Moon appeared on another screen from the surface of Earth. Her voice was calm but firm as she delivered humanity's terms. We are saying, Chancellor, that the old galactic order is finished. The Confederation Council that dismissed human intelligence and threatened human participation has proven its complete inability to protect the galaxy from existential threats. President Moon activated a document that appeared on shared screens throughout the command center and on Nexus Prime. Earth is prepared to assist in eliminating the remaining Void Swarm forces and in rebuilding galactic civilization. But we will do so under new terms. Chancellor Vextar read the document and his forearms began to shake more violently. This is a complete restructuring of galactic governance. Yes, President Moon replied. It is. The Terran Accords establish a new governmental framework based on demonstrated capability rather than ancient privilege. Military leadership will be assigned based on proven effectiveness. Resource allocation will be determined by contribution to galactic defense. Representation will be proportional to actual ability to protect and govern member worlds. The terms were revolutionary. Under the Terran Accords, Earth would assume leadership of galactic military forces. Human defensive strategies would be implemented throughout Confederation space. Earth's intelligence and research organizations would have authority over threat assessment and response planning. Most importantly, no major decisions affecting galactic security could be made without human approval. "This is unacceptable," Chancellor Vextar said, though his voice lacked conviction. "The Confederation cannot surrender its sovereign authority to a single member species." Admiral Kim smiled coldly. "Chancellor, you seem to be confused about your current situation. The Confederation no longer has meaningful military capability. Your core worlds are being consumed by an enemy your forces cannot fight. Your government has lost the confidence of its own member species." Kim gestured to the tactical displays showing the ongoing destruction throughout Confederation space. "3 of your member species have already contacted Earth directly, requesting protection and offering to accept human military authority. 4 others have indicated they will formally withdraw from the Confederation if it continues to refuse. Effective leadership. You have a choice," President Moon added. "Accept the Terran Accords and work with Earth to rebuild galactic civilization under new leadership, or watch the remaining Confederation worlds fall to the Void Swarm while you debate the fine points of governmental protocol." Chancellor Vextar looked around the council chamber at the other species representatives. Their expressions ranged from desperate hope to resigned acceptance. The proud civilizations that had ruled the galaxy for millennia were broken, and they knew it. "How long do we have to decide?" Vextar asked quietly. General Choi checked the tactical situation reports. "Our intelligence suggests the remaining swarm forces will reach the Confederation core worlds within 72 hours. If you want our assistance in stopping them, we need your answer within 24 hours. "And if we refuse?" Vextar asked. "Then, Earth will focus on protecting human space in any worlds that formally request our assistance," Admiral Kim replied. "The Confederation can handle its own problems using its own resources and leadership." The communication link went silent as Chancellor Vextar and the Galactic Council considered their options. On Earth, humanity's leaders waited for an answer they already knew was inevitable. Director Young-Suk Yoon, the head of Earth's new Galactic Relations Department, was already preparing for the transformation of interstellar government. Her teams had spent months developing administrative frameworks for managing a multi-species civilization under human